Good morning. I'd like to join the library, please.
Of course. Can I just see your student card?
Here you are.
Thank you. Let me just check. Your first name is Garba, G-A-R-B-A, and your surname is Buwal, B-U-W-A-L.
That's right.
Can I just get some additional information from you for our database? It won't take long.
Sure.
Could I have your address, please?
Here, in Newtown?
Yes.
16 Bridgeway Road.
Is Bridgeway written as one word?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Which city are you from? Just the city. I don't need the full address.
I'm from Lagos in Nigeria.
And your date of birth?
25th of May, 1983.
Which course are you on?
MSc Engineering.
Thank you. That's all the personal data I need. Your library card will be ready tomorrow. Would you like to pick it up here, or shall I send it to your department?
I'll pick it up here. Could I just ask you a few questions?
Of course. What would you like to know?
I heard the library is open 24 hours a day. Is that correct?
It will be from the 1st of October, but now we're only open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. because this week is only for orientation. There are no formal classes at the university.
I see. It's very unusual to have a library that's open 24 hours.
We are only the second university in the UK to offer this service. It was instantly popular when we introduced it on the 1st of March last academic year.
What facilities are available here? I missed the orientation, I'm afraid.
Well, you can see the 3 photocopiers over there by the large desk. The one nearest us is a colour copier.
How much does it cost to make copies?
5 pence for black and white and 10 pence for colour. Only A4 sized copies are available. On the other side of the room, by the windows, you can see the computers. They have a database of all our books, newspapers, magazines, and reports in the library. About 500,000 entries in all.
Are they connected to the internet?
No, we found that too many students wanted to use them. Besides, it's cheap and easy for students to get an internet connection in their accommodation.
Those stairs lead to the rest of the library?
Yes. On this floor we have newspapers and magazines. Users are not required to be silent in this part of the library, but we do ask that the noise be kept to a minimum. Upstairs there are all the books and reports.
What's that room at the end there?
You mean at the opposite end of the room to my desk? That's the video and DVD room. We have a small selection of videos and DVDs that students can view, but usually an appointment needs to be made in advance. However, this is not necessary if the room is not in use.
Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Hello everyone, I'm here to talk to you about extending your leave to remain in the UK. Let me just check that you are all from outside the European Economic Area. If you are from the EEA, this information does not apply to you. Okay, let's begin. The very first thing to do is to take note of the date that your entry clearance is valid until, or the date that your leave to remain in the UK will run out. This is the date when your current permission to be in the UK will expire. By this date, you should either leave the UK or extend your permission to be here. As a part of the initiative to attract more international students to the UK, many international students are now given permission to be in the UK for the full period of study. Students on courses of 12 months or more that end during the summer will usually be given permission to be in the UK until the 31st of October. Students on courses that do not follow the usual autumn to summer pattern will usually be given a period that includes 2 months at the end of the course for packing up and making arrangements to leave. However, some students are not given permission to be here for the whole of their course at the very beginning. If this has happened to you, you will have to apply for an extension of your permission to be here. Start preparing for the application about 2 months before your permission runs out. However, you should not normally make the application until 1 month before your permission runs out. To apply to stay longer in the UK, you must take or send certain documents to the Home Office. The Home Office is the name we give to what people in most other countries call the Interior Ministry. They must be the originals and not photocopies. Which documents do you need to send? Your completed application form, Form FLRS, your passport and passports for each dependent if they are applying to extend their stay in the UK with you. If your passport shows that you are required to register with the police, you must also send your police registration certificate and certificates for each dependent if they are applying to extend their stay in the UK with you. You also need to send a letter from your college or university stating that you are still enrolled on a full-time course of study, or that you will be beginning another one. Bank statements covering the past 3 months, or other evidence that you have enough money to continue to pay your fees and maintain yourself and any dependents. A recent passport-size photograph of yourself and similar photos of any of your dependents aged 16 or over if they are applying to extend their stay in the UK with you. FLRS stands for Further Leave to Remain Student. To get this form, you can download it from the Home Office website or ask at your college or university. When you are preparing to fill out the form, it is a good idea to read the guidance notes. You could also ask a student advisor or welfare officer at your institution for help. Now, where should you send your application? You can only send your application by post. Send your documents to FLRS, Immigration and Nationality Directorate, Sunshine House, 28 Wellington Road, London, W1A 2BY. Send your documents by recorded delivery and keep the receipt as well as photocopies of everything you send. You can expect to wait at least 4 weeks and sometimes considerably longer before a decision on the application is made. I have some good news about the application deadline. According to new regulations, even if you do not have all these documents available, you must still make sure that you apply before your current permission to be in the UK expires. Enclose as many of the documents as you have and include a letter explaining what is missing, why it is missing, and when you will be able to send it to the Home Office. You will then be considered to have made your application in time. If your permission to be in the UK has already expired, contact either a student advisor or welfare officer at your college or university, or the Immigration Advisory Service on their 24-hour emergency line 011 7378 9191, or via their website www.iasuk.org. Please note that if you do make a late application and the application is refused, you cannot appeal against that decision. If your application was made in time, and if your application is refused, you will receive a letter from the Home Office telling you why. The letter will also tell you whether or not you have the right to appeal against the decision. If you made your original application in good time, before your current leave to remain had expired, then you should automatically be given the right to appeal. If you have the right to appeal, you will only have a few days in which to exercise this right. You should therefore ask for professional advice about the appeal process as soon as possible from a lawyer, a student advisor, or welfare officer at your college or university, or the Immigration Advisory Service.
Good morning. Your name is Claire Sanders, isn't it?
That's right.
Well, Claire, as we explained in the letter, in this interview I'd like to talk about some of the things that you mentioned in your application form. such as your experience and academic background.
I see.
Now, for your undergraduate degree, you studied geography, right?
That's correct, at the Scottish National University.
SNU is a very prestigious university. Apart from that, were there any other reasons that you chose to study there?
Well, you're correct in suggesting that the main reason I went there was due to the superior quality of the university, but there were two other reasons. The first was that it is reasonably far from my home. I wanted to be as independent as possible from my family whilst I was studying, and felt that that was one way of achieving that aim. The other reason was that the university offered an excellent program of summer work in developing countries, and that's something I was very keen on.
That would be the Livingstone project.
That's right.
I'd like to return to that in a minute. Let me just check the optional courses you took in your third year.
The two compulsory courses were methodology in geography and statistical analysis. And I chose infrastructure, development issues and geology in addition to those.
I see. You clearly decided to focus more on the human geography side of things.
Yes, I had worked on development projects abroad for 2 summers as part of the Livingstone project. The first project was in India and the second was in Sierra Leone.
Could you tell me the main aims of the project and how you contributed?
The Indian project was to ensure that a village had adequate supplies of fresh water and adequate sanitation. On that project, my role was to help lay pipes and put together various pieces of equipment. The project in Sierra Leone involved improving the infrastructure. The aim was to create rudimentary roads between villages so that they could receive aid and so that they could get agricultural products, particularly fruit and vegetables, to the capital and larger towns. My job was to help choose the best route for the roads, minimizing any impact on the environment while maximizing efficiency.
How did you find the experiences?
The Indian project was helpful in that it was my first experience abroad, and I got to see how small development projects can really make a difference. However, I found the climate, well, it was extremely hot and humid, and we were doing a lot of physical work, so it was, well, it made you appreciate air conditioning for a start. The second project, well, I enjoyed that a lot more. There was some physical work, but we had some machinery to help us clear paths through vegetation. I really enjoyed being able to put what I had learned into practice. For example, we had to choose a route on a map first of all, according to the contours of hills and valleys. Then we had to explore the ground and check that it was really a suitable route.
And now you've decided to take a master's degree in development studies as a result. Great. Well, I just have a few more questions regarding... Welcome to this introductory lecture on the geography of the United Kingdom. The UK, with a total population of over 60 million, consists of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Great Britain comprises England, Scotland and Wales. England is the largest country of the UK, with some 52 million people. It is mainly a lowland country, with some upland areas in the north and west. The capital is London, with about 7 million people. There are many manufacturing industries, and farming is widespread, but the economy is increasingly service-based, and London is one of the world's leading centres for banking, insurance, and other financial services. High-tech industries have replaced many of the more traditional ones. In Scotland, 5 million people live in an area not much smaller than England. The country boasts vast open spaces and is one of the last areas of unspoiled natural beauty in Europe, featuring mountains, lochs, that is lakes, and glens, that is valleys. Modern industries including oil, electronics and biotechnology, as well as more traditional industries such as fishing and forestry, drive the economy. The largest city is Glasgow, but the capital is Edinburgh. Wales is home to 3 million people, and its geography is characterised by coastline, mountains and lakes. Cardiff is the capital and largest city. Key industries include electronics, auto components, food processing, healthcare and professional services. More Japanese companies have set up shop in Wales than anywhere else in Europe. About 1.6 million people live in Northern Ireland, the capital of which is Belfast, the largest city. Residents enjoy beautiful countryside. Many new hotels are springing up to cater for increasing numbers of tourists and business travellers. The climate in the UK is moderate. Summers are fairly cool and winters are quite mild. And despite what many foreigners believe, British weather is not rain and fog. It is actually more comfortable, more varied and more interesting than that. What you can look forward to in the way of rain, sun, temperature, and even daylight depends on where you will be living. Here are some typical figures for London. January is the coldest month at 3 degrees centigrade, whilst July is the hottest at 17 degrees centigrade. Rainfall varies from 56 millimetres in April to 81 millimetres in December. Although the UK is quite small geographically, the climate varies from one area to another. In general, the west is wetter and milder than the east, and northern areas are noticeably cooler than southern ones. For example, compare the following temperatures with the London figures. Edinburgh, 14 degrees centigrade in July, and Manchester, 15 degrees centigrade in the same month. Edinburgh, 4 degrees centigrade in January, and Manchester, 5 degrees centigrade in the same month. Parts of Scotland usually get snow in winter, whereas you might live in London for several years without seeing a significant snowfall. International students who are used to tropical or equatorial climates are often intrigued by the sheer variety of the weather in the UK. Weather in the early spring tends to be especially changeable. You could be treated to rain, snow, thunder and lightning, hail and glorious spring sunshine, all in the course of a single day.
Good morning. I'd like to book a flight to Toronto, please.
Certainly. Flying from Sydney?
Yes, on Thursday, please.
Thursday the 16th, right? There are 3 flights that day. Do you prefer flying with any particular airline?
I've heard that Air Canada is good, but expensive. Is there a big difference in prices between the airlines? I'll be flying business class.
Yes, there is. Air Canada is the most expensive airline at $4,000 to $6,000 for business class, depending on the date of return. Qantas is $3,000 to $6,000, and Pacific, the budget airline, charges between $2,000 and $3,500.
Wow, that's quite a difference in prices. I'm returning on from Wednesday 22nd, so could you check the return prices for me?
Sure. Let me just enter the return date into the computer. OK. Air Canada has tickets for $4,600. Qantas has them for $4,200. Pacific has tickets for $3,200. Those prices all include taxes and surcharges.
OK. Before I make a decision, I would like to know the departure and arrival times in both directions.
Of course. Let's look at Air Canada first. Leaves Sydney at 10 a.m. and arrives in Toronto at 10 a.m. local time. There's a stopover in Vancouver. The Qantas flight leaves Sydney at 1:45 and arrives at 10:15 a.m. There's also a stopover in Vancouver, but it's shorter than the Air Canada one. Pacific flies via Los Angeles and leaves at 6:15, arriving at 11:55 p.m.
Oh, that doesn't sound very convenient. Flying by Pacific, I mean.
Well, budget airlines do offer cheaper tickets, but they are often not so advantageous in other ways.
How about the returned flights?
Let me check. The Air Canada flight leaves Toronto at 4 o'clock and arrives at 6 o'clock local time. The Qantas flight leaves at 9 a.m. and arrives at 11 a.m. local time in Sydney. Pacific. The Pacific flight leaves Toronto at 10:25 and arrives at 6:10 local time in Sydney. Again, not very convenient timing.
No, it isn't. Are the stopovers the same as on the outward journey?
Yes, they are.
Well, I have a business appointment on Wednesday the 22nd in the morning, so unfortunately I can't take the Qantas flight. The Pacific flight times are too inconvenient, so I'll take the Air Canada flight, even though it's more expensive.
Right, I'll book that for you, shall I? Do you have your passport with you?
Yes, I do. Here you are.
Thank you. I'll just enter your details. OK. Could you just check this printout? Make sure that I've spelt your name correctly and have written your passport number correctly too. Will you be paying by credit card?
Yes, I have a company credit card. Here you are. Oh, my name is Reese with a C, not with an S.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll correct that. R-E-E-C-E.
And my given names are hyphenated. Mary-Ann, with an E. Oh, you've got that. Sorry.
OK. Mary-Ann. Joined together with a hyphen. Is the passport number OK?
Yes. Could you give me an official invoice, please? I need it for my company.
Certainly. Shall I use the company name as it appears on the credit card? ABC Stocks.
Yes.
OK, thank you. Could you sign here and here? Thank you. I'll just print out your ticket.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am here to give you a talk on tenancy agreements and other legalities. If you rent a flat or a house or bedsit, you will have a tenancy agreement or lease. This is a written legal agreement between you, the tenant, and the property owner, the landlord. Tenancy agreements should normally contain information about the amount of rent, the length of the tenancy, and what rights you and your landlord will have under the law. In most cases, you will have an assured short-hold tenancy, which means that your landlord cannot ask you to leave without a good reason during the first 6 months. Although these rights offer you some protection, it is still your responsibility to check the tenancy agreement thoroughly and make sure you agree with the terms. Do not sign the tenancy agreement if you do not know what all of it means. If you do not fully understand your rights, show your tenancy agreement to an advisor in the accommodation office or student welfare office at your university or college and ask for help. You can also get help from a housing advice centre, law centre, or Citizens Advice Bureau. When you do sign the tenancy agreement, make sure you get a copy to keep for yourself, in case you need to check any details later on. The landlord may also ask you to sign an inventory, a list of all the items in the property, pieces of furniture, kitchen items, etc. If so, make sure you get a copy of this as well. Check that it is correct and that any existing damage to these items is included before signing it. If your landlord does not provide an inventory, you should make one yourself and send a copy to the landlord. Let's take a look at payments. Before you move into private accommodation, you will probably be asked to pay a deposit equivalent to 1 month's rent. Make sure you get a receipt for any deposit or fees you have paid. When you leave the accommodation, if you have paid all your bills and caused no damage to the property, your full deposit will be paid back to you. If you are renting through an accommodation agency, you may also be asked to pay fees for preparing tenancy agreements and administration. You should also keep a written record of all the rent payments that you make, as you make them. If you have a dispute with your landlord, or you get behind with your rent, you should get advice as soon as possible. Remember that if you live in the same building as your landlord, or you have a room in a student or youth hostel, or university college accommodation, then this will affect how secure your tenancy will be. If you do not share any living space with the landlord or a member of their family, apart from means of access like an entrance hall or a staircase, or are a student living in halls of residence, or any other type of accommodation where an educational institution is the landlord, you will have basic protection from eviction. Your landlord will have to end your tenancy first, either by waiting for the end of the fixed term you agreed for the tenancy, or by giving you at least 4 weeks written notice in writing to quit, or through getting a court order, before you have to leave. If you share living space, for example a kitchen, living room or bathroom, with your landlord, or are in a student or youth hostel, you will be what is termed an excluded tenant, which means that you are outside the protection of the UK law which regulates tenancies, and will not have security of tenure. All the landlord has to do to evict you is to give you notice, although they must give you a reasonable amount of time in which to leave. If you have problems with accommodation, contact the accommodation office or students' union at your university or college. If you need specialist or legal help, contact a law centre in your local Citizens Advice Bureau, who will be able to tell you your rights as a tenant and the rights of your landlord. Good morning, Clara. Take a seat. Right, I've read your first draft of your project on housing. Well done.
Thank you. I know it's only a first draft though, so I'm sure you have some suggestions on how it can be improved. I was very nervous at first because it wasn't my first choice of topic. I had wanted to do something on voting patterns, but getting information, well, it didn't look possible within the time frame.
Don't worry. I think that you have made a good choice. Yes, a comparison of the factors influencing house prices. Very topical.
Definitely. There seems to be something about housing prices in the newspapers every day. I just wanted to compare the different factors. You know, location, the proximity of facilities such as schools.
As I said, a good choice of topic. Now, the first part is very well done. You clearly introduce what you are going to look at, why and how.
Do you think that I have covered enough points there?
I think so. Did you have anything else in mind? You know, something else you'd like to cover?
Well, a friend suggested that I might include crime rates.
Actually, that's a very good idea. You might consider it. It is something that many people take into account, consciously or otherwise. When choosing a place to live, nowadays the police are required to keep quite detailed statistics on crime, and you can get them fairly easily. I mean, it's easy enough to ask for them, but it might take a while for the police to get them to you.
OK, I'll make a note of that. Contact police for crime statistics.
Now, I have to say that I found the middle part more difficult to get through.
Oh, I thought I had done that rather well.
Don't worry, it's not awful. It's just that, well, try to take a uniform approach. Use one for each criteria people use when choosing housing. That way you're comparing like with like rather than different things.
I see. So I should stick with one as far as possible. Yes, that does seem logical. So I don't really need to get more data or write much more. Instead, I need to change. I've got it.
It just makes it a lot easier to read. That's the main thing.
Yes, of course. How about the conclusion?
Based on the information you've provided, I think that you've done very well. You'll have to see if the new information you include changes your conclusion at all. It probably won't make a big difference, but you might see variations in some areas.
OK. Do you think that I used appropriate headings? And is the bibliography OK? I know that a lot of professors look long and hard at that, whilst most students think it's unimportant.
Yes, professors find the bibliography very useful. It tells us where you are getting your information from and whether those sources are appropriate. Your bibliography is fine, but you might consider changing the format. Here's a printout of the most widely accepted format. You can keep that.
Thank you. And the headings?
I made a few notes. Here are some suggestions. Don't feel that you have to use them. I won't be offended. but some of your headings are long-winded, whereas others are relatively short, as they should be.
Thank you. I'll take a look at these later.
How long did you work on the whole thing?
Well, 2 months, perhaps on average of 3 hours a day. Not more than that. Probably 150 hours.
That's about what I would recommend. Anything less than 120 hours is going to be detrimental to the project. You'll probably need another 50 hours work on it in total. You've still got a month, so you should manage it easily.
Yes, a couple of hours a day. Easy.
I'd suggest that you come back to see me in, about, let's say, 3 weeks' time. Then you should be virtually finished, and I can have another look before you do your final proofreading, before handing it in.
OK, I'll see you after one of the seminars to make an appointment. Is that OK?
Certainly. Thanks, Clara.
Thank you, Professor. Welcome to this presentation on scholarships and funding. If you are hoping for help with funding your studies in the UK, you need to get working on this as soon as you can. It is almost impossible to make arrangements for financial support once you have left your own country. Start by inquiring with your own Ministry of Education or Department of Education. Your local British Council office can provide details of awards available, including those offered by UK institutions themselves. You'll also find information and a scholarships database on their website. The main scholarship schemes available for international students include British Education Scholarships, Commonwealth Scholarships, Foreign Office Scholarships, and Overseas Students' Research Awards. British Education Scholarships are prestigious awards, enabling talented international students to study in the UK at postgraduate level. Only students studying for at least one academic year are eligible. About 2,000 new scholarships are currently awarded each year, and there are plans to expand the programme further. There are 3 types of scholarship. The first is a full award, where all the fees, a living allowance, and travel to and from the UK are paid for. Then there is a fees-only award, where all or part of the fees are paid. Finally, there is a partial award, where a combination of the fees and the allowances are paid. The value of the scholarship will vary, depending on the type of the award, the length of the course, and the country from which the student comes, but it is up to a maximum of £20,000. Contact the British Council or the British Embassy in your own country for details. You must be resident in your home country when you apply. Commonwealth scholarships are awards mainly for postgraduate study, although funding for undergraduate study may be possible if there are no suitable undergraduate courses in your home country. You must be a citizen of a Commonwealth country, including the UK. A university degree or equivalent is usually required. Apply to the British Council office in your country. You must be resident in your own country when you apply. About 3,000 of these scholarships are awarded each year, and their value ranges from £5,000 to £15,000. Foreign Office scholarships are a joint initiative by the Foreign Office and certain UK higher education institutions. The awards are normally given for taught postgraduate courses. In rare cases, an award may be made for undergraduate study if the course is not available at an institution in your home country. They are funded by the Foreign Office and participating UK higher education institutions. You must normally be under 35 years of age. You must be resident in a developing country, and you must not be currently employed by your government or by an international organisation. You should be planning to study a subject related to development and be fluent in English. Apply directly to one of the participating institutions. You can ask for a list of participating institutions from the British Embassy in your country or your local British Council office. Only about 500 of these awards are made each year, and their value ranges from £7,000 to £12,000. Overseas Students' Research Awards are awards for full-time postgraduate study for a period of 1 year. They make up the difference between home and overseas students' fees. They are funded by the Ministry of Education. You must be a postgraduate research student at a publicly funded higher education institution in the UK. You will need to demonstrate academic merit and research potential. Application forms are available from UK higher education institutions, so contact the one where you want to study. For further information, contact the OSRA office via their website, www.osra.org. Actually, you can email them at osra@osra.org. On average, 1,000 of these scholarships are awarded each year, and the maximum amount is £25,000 per scholarship.
Hi there, Kate. Come on in. How are you today?
Fine, thanks.
Hi, Lukey. How's things?
Okay.
Well, as I explained on the phone, I'm a counsellor here at the Student Services section of the university, and I'm interviewing overseas students to help me draw up a guide for new students. So I'd be grateful if you could tell me a little about your time since you've been here in Cambridge.
Right.
Now, Kate, let's start with you. Okay. This is your second semester, isn't it? Could you tell us something about your first impressions of the town when you arrived?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was struck by how quiet it is here in the evening.
Yeah, I suppose Cambridge is a quiet place. Where did you live when you first arrived?
Well, I went straight into student accommodation. It was a kind of student hostel.
Ah, right. So, you didn't have to worry about doing your own cooking or anything like that?
No, but sometimes I wished I had. The food at the hostel was awful.
Oh, dear. But how were the other students?
To be honest, I haven't managed to make many friends, even though the place is full. People seem to keep to themselves. They're not really very friendly.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, what about the actual course? You're studying,
I'm doing a master's by coursework in environmental studies.
Oh, right. And how are you finding that?
Yeah, well, it's been pretty good, really. I've enjoyed the course, but I feel there hasn't been enough contact with the lecturers.
Oh.
They all seem to be incredibly busy. The only chance I've really had to talk to them was on the field trip.
Well, that's no good.
Mm-mm.
Could anything be done to improve the course, in your opinion?
Well, I think it would be helpful to have meetings with lecturers on the course. Say, once a fortnight, something like that.
Regular meetings?
Uh-huh.
Yes, that could certainly help. Now, Kate, we'll come back to you in a minute, but I'd just like to ask Lukey some questions. Lukey, where are you from?
I am from Indonesia.
And how did you find Cambridge when you first arrived?
Well, I like it here. I think the city is very beautiful.
What about your accommodation? Was that okay?
Yes, okay. At first, I stayed with a family for 3 months. They were very kind to me, but they had 3 young children, and I found it difficult to study.
Right, I see.
So after 3 months, I moved out, and now I live with 2 other students in a student house. It's much cheaper, and we like it there.
Good. And what about your studies? What are you studying?
I'm doing a Bachelor of Computing.
Computing, I see. Apart from the language difficulties, if you can separate them, how have you found the course?
Okay, but...
Yes, go on.
Well, the main difficulty for me is getting time on the computers in the computer room. It's always busy, and this makes it very hard to do my practical work.
Yes, I'm sure it would. Can you reserve time in the computer room?
No, you can't. But it would certainly help if we could reserve computer time.
Yes, I'll look into that and see if something can't be done to improve things over there. Now, let's go back to Kate.
Last week we talked about buying camping equipment, and today I'd like to talk to you about buying a bicycle. A simple enough exercise you might imagine, but there are lots of things to look out for to make sure you get the best deal for your money. Well, the range of bicycles is enormous. There are racing bikes, touring bikes, mountain bikes, or just plain ordinary bikes for riding around town. They vary enormously in two basic ways: price and quality. This means that the choice you make will probably be determined by the amount of money you want to pay, your own personal needs, what is actually available, or a compromise of all three things. However, in broad terms, you can spend anything from $50 to $2,000 on a bike, so you'll need to know what you're looking for. Single-speed cycles, that is bikes with no gears, are really only suited to short, casual rides. Their attraction is their simplicity and reliability. After years of neglect, they still manage to function, though not always too efficiently. If it's basic transport you're after, then you can't go wrong. 3-speed cycles, on the other hand, are all that is really necessary for most town riding, going to the shops and things like that. Like the single-speed bike, they're simple and reliable. If you're going to be going up and down lots of hills, then you'll probably want something more efficient. 5 and 10-speed bicycles are best suited to riding over long distances or hilly terrain, and to serious touring. So if it's serious touring you're interested in, get a 5 or 10-speed bike. However, it's worth remembering that the difference in price between a 5 and 10-speed cycle is usually very little, and so it's well worth paying that little bit extra to get the 10-speed one. So I would tend to recommend the 10-speed bike as the price is similar. However, you'll be getting better quality components. Now the next thing we need to look at is size. Buying a cycle is like buying clothes. First of all, you find the right size, and then you try it on to see if it fits. Contrary to what you might imagine, the size of the cycle is not determined by the size of the wheels, except in children's cycles, but by the size of the frame. So you'll need to measure the length of your legs and arms to get a frame that is the right size for you. Well, that's all from Helpful Hints for today.
Hi there, Martin. How are you going with your Australian Studies tutorial paper?
Oh, good. I finished it, actually.
Lucky you. What did you do it on? I'm still trying to find an interesting topic.
Well, after some consideration, I decided to look at the history of banana growing in Australia.
Banana growing?
Yeah, banana growing.
Fascinating, I'm sure.
Well, it's not as boring as you'd think. And I wanted to tie it into the work I've been doing on primary industries and the economy. Anyway, I bet there are a few things you didn't know about bananas.
Such as?
Such as the fact that bananas were among the first plants ever to be domesticated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're an extremely nourishing food.
I suppose you're going to tell me the whole history of banana growing now, aren't you?
Well, it'll be a good practice run for my tutorial next week. I'll do the same for you sometime.
Okay, fire away. So where were these bananas first domesticated?
According to my research, the Cavendish banana, which is a type of banana, and the first type to be cultivated here, actually originated in China, but they had a fairly roundabout route before they got to Australia.
You mean they didn't go straight from China to Australia?
No, they didn't. It seems that in 1826, bananas were taken from South China to England.
I suppose they'd have made a welcome addition to the English diet.
Yes, I'm sure. Well, apparently there was an English duke who was particularly fond of bananas, and he used to cultivate them in his hothouse, which is where you have to grow them in England, of course, because of the cool climate. And they became quite popular in the UK. So he was the one responsible for cultivating the Cavendish banana, which was then introduced into Australia.
I see, and we've been growing them ever since.
Yeah.
Are they hard to grow?
Well, yes and no. To grow them in your garden, no, not really. But to grow them commercially, you need to know what you're doing. You see, you only get one bunch of bananas per tree, and it can take up to 3 years for a tree to bear fruit if you don't do anything special to it. But this period is greatly reduced with modern growing methods, particularly in plantations where you have perfect tropical conditions.
Right. So what are you looking at? 1 year? 2 years?
No, around 15 months in good conditions for a tree to produce a bunch of bananas. And once you've got your bunch, you cut the bunch and the plant down.
So how do the trees reproduce then?
Well, bananas are normally grown from suckers, which spring up around the parent plant, usually just above the plant. They tend to like to grow uphill, or at least that's the common wisdom.
So that's why banana plantations are usually on hillsides, is it?
Yeah, they grow best like that.
That's interesting.
If you plant them in rich soil and give them plenty of water at the beginning of summer, then they should be well advanced by the beginning of winter, when growth virtually stops. But in a country like England, they're hard to grow. Although, you can grow them in a hothouse.
But in Australia, it's not difficult.
No. Though even here, the growers put plastic bags around the bunches to protect them and keep them warm. If you go up to the banana growing districts, you'll see all these banana trees with plastic bags on them.
But how do they stop the bananas going bad before they reach the shops?
Well, the banana bunches are picked well before the fruit's ripe. Once you cut the bunch, the bananas stop growing, but they do continue to ripen. The interesting thing is that once one banana ripens, it gives off a gas which then helps all the others to ripen. So they pretty much all ripen within a few hours of each other.
Amazing. So do we export lots of bananas overseas to Europe and Asia, for instance?
Well, oddly enough, no. I believe New Zealand takes a small proportion of the crop, but otherwise, well, they're mostly grown for the domestic market, which is surprising when you think about it, because we grow an enormous number of bananas each year.
Yes, well, thank you for all that information. I'm sure the tutorial paper will go really well. You certainly seem to have done your research on the subject.
Let's hope so.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to our regular lecture on health issues. This series of lectures is organised by the Students' Union and is part of the Union's attempt to help you, the students of this university, to stay healthy while coping with study and social life at the same time. So, it's a great pleasure for me to welcome back Ms. Diane Greenbaum, who is a professional dietitian and who has been kind enough to give up her time in what I know is a very hectic schedule to come along and talk to us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John. May I say it's a pleasure to be back. Now, stresses at university, being away from home and having to look after yourselves, learning your way around the campus, all contribute to making it quite hard sometimes to ensure that your diet is adequate. So, today, I'm going to talk about ways of making sure that you eat well, while at the same time staying within your budget. If you have a well-balanced diet, then you should be getting all the vitamins that you need for normal daily living. However, sometimes we think we're eating the right foods, but the vitamins are escaping, perhaps as a result of cooking, and anyway, we're not getting the full benefit of them. Now, if you lack vitamins in any way, the solution isn't to rush off and take vitamin pills, though they can sometimes help. No, it's far better to look at your diet and how you prepare your food. So, what are vitamins? Well, the dictionary tells us they are food factors essential in small quantities to maintain life. Now, there are fat-soluble vitamins which can be stored for quite some time by the body, and there are water-soluble vitamins which are removed more rapidly from the body. And so a regular daily intake of these ones is needed. Okay, so how can you ensure that your diet contains enough of the vitamins you need? Well, first of all, you may have to establish some new eating habits. No more chips at the uni canteen, I'm afraid. Now, firstly, you must eat a variety of foods. Then you need to ensure that you eat at least 4 servings of fruit and vegetables daily. Now, you'll need to shop 2 or 3 times a week to make sure that they're fresh, and store your vegetables in the fridge or in a cool, dark place. Now, let's just refresh our memories by looking at the healthy diet pyramid. Okay, can you all see that? Good. Well, now, as you see, we've got 3 levels to our pyramid. At the top, in the smallest area, are the things which we should really be trying to avoid as much as possible. Things like Yes, sugar, salt, butter, all that sort of thing. Next, on the middle of our pyramid, we find the things that we can eat in moderation. Not too much, though. And that's where we find milk, lean meat, fish, nuts, eggs. And then at the bottom of the pyramid are the things that you can eat lots of, because they're the things that are really good for you. Here we have bread, vegetables, and fruit. So, don't lose sight of your healthy diet pyramid when you do your shopping.
Registrar's office, this is Pam.
Yes, hello. I'm calling about enrolling to study at the university. This is the right number?
Yes, this is Mitchford University admissions. What would you like to know?
Well, basically I need to know what I have to do to be enrolled as a student. You see, I'm currently studying education at another school. I've just finished my first year, but I'm not really enjoying it. I think I'm more interested in accounting. My dad teaches maths, so I thought it might be a good choice. Well, better than business anyway.
Okay. Have you received a registration pack?
No? How can I get one of those?
Well, you've got to have one to register. You can enroll at the university at any time after you receive a registration pack. These are usually available from September for first-year and transferring students, and from November for returning students. On the basis of the information contained in the registration pack, you should attempt to make a firm choice about which courses to study before completing your form.
I see. So I've only got a month to get my registration pack in. Can you send me one?
Sure. If you are close to a high school, the registration pack and university prospectus are available from the Careers Advisor. Would that be helpful?
Well, the closest school's too far away and I haven't got a car. Are there any other ways you can send it to me?
Well, for prospective students who have already left school, the registration pack and prospectus are available from the university information line. But that might not be of help for you?
No, not really.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you give me your contact details and I'll send a pack out to you. At least that would be a start.
Okay, sounds good.
Right. Firstly, what's your name?
Richard Dreyfus. That's Dreyfus.
Your address there, Richard?
Unit 12, 15 Sportsman Avenue. That's Sportsman, Mermaid Beach. 4554.
And your telephone?
Yes, I won't give you my home. Mobile's best. 0414. Hang on a minute, I don't call myself usually. I think it's 0414 658 339. Yes, that's it.
Okay, now, do you have email?
Yes, I do. It's Dreyfus, my last name, at igo. That's IGO.com. All lowercase letters, of course.
Okay, that looks fine. Now, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I've got a friend who is interested in studying at the university. I'm not sure what would be best, the best way for him to register. Can you give me some suggestions?
Sure. There are 3 ways to register. Option 1 is telephone registration. Before you telephone, fill out the registration form included in your pack. This will ensure you have all the information that you require. The number is in your registration packet. Don't forget to hold on to a copy of your registration form for future reference.
Yep, okay.
Option 2 is registration by post. All you have to do there is complete the relevant sections of the registration form and post the completed form together with all documentation required in the envelope provided.
All right.
The third way is to simply come in. Visit the Student Information Center in the Information Services building, and your friend will receive personal assistance on how to complete his forms.
Thanks very much. You've been most helpful.
You're welcome. Good luck with your future studies.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Upton University. I hope you are settling in and beginning to find your way around. I know how confusing it can be when you start life at university, and that's why we have Freshers Week to help you find your feet. Before I go any further, I should perhaps introduce myself. My name is Sally Jackson, and I am the Secretary of the Students' Union, which has organized this week of events for you. You will usually find me in the office on the first floor of this building when I'm not attending lectures. Anyway, down to business. Of course, there are a few things that you are obliged to get done during your first week here. But once you've opened a bank account, if you haven't got one already, seen your director of studies to discuss which courses you are going to take, and signed up with a doctor, there will be plenty of time left to enjoy the events we have arranged for the week. And have we got a lot lined up for you? Throughout the week from Monday to Friday, every morning starting at 10 a.m., there will be orientation and welfare events. These will include tours of the campus, which, as you have probably noticed, is the size of a small town with 9,000 residential students, as well as sessions on developing study skills. We also have tours of Upton itself arranged for you, with a bus leaving from outside this building every afternoon at 5 o'clock. There are a number of interesting things to do and see in and around Upton, so you can expect visits to the castle and museum as well as the popular Ghost Walk. You'll need to sign up for this one, as numbers are limited. Just put your name on the list on the notice board in the entrance lobby. An important event is scheduled for Monday, that's the day after tomorrow, when we will be holding the academic fair. This is an opportunity for you to speak to students and academic staff about the courses that are on offer. The academic fair starts at 1 o'clock, by the way. There are a couple of other fairs that I think will interest you. First of all, we have the Societies Fair on Tuesday the 16th, which I think is an absolute must. You might not believe it, but the university has over 150 societies and sports clubs you can sign up for, so you are sure to find something of interest to you. That also starts at 1 o'clock, and it will be here in the Union Building. Also in this building is the Trade Fair on Wednesday from 2 until 5 in the afternoon. This one might sound a bit strange because you will find a load of banks and other businesses here trying to get your custom. You will find plenty of bargains and, best of all, a lot of the businesses give away stuff for free. We've also got a great entertainment program lined up for you, starting tonight with our welcoming party. We have a top band lined up for your entertainment, but I'm not allowed to say who they are. All I can say is that I am sure you will not be disappointed. So come along to Blackmore Hall at 9 o'clock this evening to get your university experience off to a flying start. Just one point. I'm afraid this event is limited to freshers only. Because of space restrictions, you can't bring a friend tonight. Sorry about that. There's more fun and games on Monday in the Cotswold Theater here on campus. We have booked two of the cleverest comedians in the country, Paul Frazier and Jenny Brown, for a 3-hour show. Paul has assured us that he and Jenny have packed the show with new material, and as they always get rave reviews for their shows, I think we can look forward to an evening of great entertainment. That's in the Cotswold Theater on Monday evening at 7:30. Moving along a bit, on Thursday there is an important date for your diaries. This is the official Freshers opening ceremony, when the Dean welcomes you to Upton University. So remember, Thursday the 18th from 2:30 to 3:30 in Blackmore Hall. You certainly should go to this one, and by the way, light refreshments will be available. At the end of the week, on Saturday, you have the chance to dress up in your smartest evening wear for the official Freshers' Ball. Actually, although it's called a ball, it is quite a relaxed affair, so we are more than happy if you turn up wearing jeans and a t-shirt. The important thing is to relax and enjoy yourselves. Time and place are the same as for this evening's party. Blackmore Hall from 9 in the evening to 3 o'clock in the morning. Right. I think I've covered the most important and exciting events we have lined up for you, but there will be plenty of other things going on throughout the week, so remember to check the notice board in the entrance lobby regularly. Enjoy the rest of the day, and I look forward to meeting as many of you as possible this evening at the welcoming party.
Come in and sit down, Lester. Sharon, I can see you're keen to know more. To start with, I'd just like to say that we value volunteers highly and recognize their importance and assistance in the provision of quality education.
Thank you. We're looking forward to helping out. But what exactly can we do?
Volunteers can undertake a range of tasks. In general, they enrich the English language program and complement the contributions of salaried staff members.
Yes, but what would we do specifically?
Oh, a variety of tasks. For instance, you can tutor individual students in reading.
I thought that might be the case.
But you can also help students edit their written responses.
Great. Is that also a one-on-one activity?
Oh, yes, definitely. But volunteers are also called on to assist in designated classes.
And what exactly would we do there?
Well, it depends on the class, of course, but usually you take on the role of an assistant.
A teacher's assistant?
Yes, that's it.
Sounds like fun and good preparation for our own careers.
Then, an enormous area of assistance is developing students' organizational skills.
Yes, I can imagine that's why some of them are struggling in the first place.
There's also the special needs unit. They always need volunteers there.
But we have no training in special needs.
That's not necessary. These students just really appreciate having any extra attention. Sometimes help with the simplest things, like holding a pen correctly.
Well, that's something all able-bodied students should learn. I've noticed some of the strangest pen grips amongst my peers, and I'm sure they must end up with sore hand or shoulder muscles at the end of the day.
Yes, I'm sure you're right. The other task I'd like you two to help out with is encouraging and improving the students' work ethic.
Oh, I can't imagine that'll be easy.
No, but it is important, and I can give you some training in that field.
That'll be good.
I should also point out that you'll be working alongside quality teachers at times who are not only caring role models, but excellent motivators.
Well, we should learn a lot from them.
Yes, the teachers you'll be assigned to are innovative and very responsive to the different needs of individual students.
If that's true, they must be adept at a variety of teaching styles.
Quite right. You know, part of my mission is to forge close partnerships between experienced teachers and trainees like yourselves. As far as I can see, everyone has something to gain from the exchange of information and skills, not just the students you're helping.
There are a number of interesting developments going on at the moment, and I've chosen you two because of your varied academic backgrounds. Now you, Sharon.
I majored in business studies before I came to Teachers Training College.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I've always been more interested in science, marine biology in particular.
Yes, I think it's quite exciting. The school you're going to assist at is augmenting the number of vocational learning experiences offered within its subjects. Educational philosophy these days seems to recognize the importance of increasing practical components in the curriculum. Areas of development being pursued include building and construction, agriculture, business education, and hospitality. But the Marine Studies course is already well developed.
Oh, now I see where we fit in.
You'll find that the school has an excellent library and audio-visual collection. There are 3 computer laboratories and a special needs network with 6 stations.
Ah, they are well equipped.
Wait till you see their independent learning center.
What's so special about their ILC?
They have the most sophisticated self-learning software I've ever seen in this region of the country.
Really?
Uh-huh. And there's a wide number of extracurricular activities, an extensive sporting program.
Oh, sport? Not my thing at all.
Well, no, maybe not. But they also promote students' participation in different scholastic competitions.
I'm impressed. I think we're going to enjoy this.
Well, my group has been doing a project on how household waste is recycled in Britain. We were quite shocked to discover that only 9% of people here in the UK make an effort to recycle their household waste. This is a lower figure than in most other European countries, and needs to increase dramatically in the next few years if the government is going to meet its recycling targets. The agreed targets for the UK mean that by 2008 we must reduce our carbon dioxide emissions by 12.5% compared with 1990. And recycling can help to achieve that goal in 2 main ways. The production of recycled glass and paper uses much less energy than producing them from virgin materials, and also recycling reduces greenhouse gas emissions from landfill sites and incineration plants. As part of our project, we carried out a survey of people in the street, and the thing that came up over and over again is that people don't think it's easy enough to recycle their waste. One problem is that there aren't enough drop-off sites. That is, the places where the public are supposed to take their waste. We also discovered that waste that's collected from householders is taken to places called bring banks for sorting and baling into loads. One problem here is taking out everything that shouldn't have been placed in the recycling containers. People put all sorts of things into bottle banks, like plastic bags and even broken umbrellas. All this has to be removed by hand. Another difficulty is that toughened glass used for cooking doesn't fully melt at the temperature required for other glass, and so that also has to be picked out by hand. Glass is easy to recycle because it can be reused over and over again without becoming weaker. 2 million tons of glass is thrown away each year. That is 7 billion bottles and jars. But only 500,000 tons of that is collected and recycled. Oddly enough, half the glass that's collected is green, and a lot of that is imported, so more green glass is recycled than the UK needs. As a result, new uses are being developed for recycled glass, particularly green glass. For example, in fiberglass manufacture and water filtration. A company called CLF Aggregates makes a product for roads, and 30% of the material is crushed glass. For recycling paper, Britain comes second in Europe with 40%, behind Germany's amazing 70%. When recycling started, there were quality problems, so it was difficult to use recycled paper in office printers, but these problems have now been solved. And Martin's, based in South London, produces a range of office stationery which is 100% recycled, costs the same as normal paper, and is of equally high quality. But this high quality comes at a cost in terms of the waste produced during the process. Over a third of the waste paper that comes in can't be used in the recycled paper, leaving the question of what to do with it. One firm, PaperSave, currently sells this to farmers as a soil conditioner, though this practice will soon be banned because of transport costs and the smell, and the company is looking into the possibility of alternative uses. Plastic causes problems because there are so many different types of plastic in use today, and each one has to be dealt with differently. Packrite recycles all sorts of things, from bottles to car bumpers, and one of its most successful activities is recycling plastic bottles to make containers which are used all over the country to collect waste. The Save a Cup scheme was set up by the vending and plastics industries to recycle as many as possible of the 3.5 billion polystyrene cups used each year. At the moment, 500 million polycups are collected, processed, and sold on to other businesses such as Waterford, which turns the cups into pencils, and Johnson & Jones, a Welsh-based firm, which has developed a wide variety of items, including business cards. Well, to sum up, there seems to be plenty of research going on into how to reuse materials. But the biggest problem is getting people to think about recycling instead of throwing things away. At least doing the research made us much more careful.